Welcome to the Mentally Strong Podcast. I'm Colin Sutherland. Join me on my journey as I explore and discover all there is to know about living well with multiple sclerosis. I'm a normal guy who was recently diagnosed and started treatment. I will share with you my conversations with others who are living with this chronic condition and with professionals who provide resources and advice. My hope is that you gain inspiration and ideas to improve your life. Welcome back to the Mentally Strong Podcast. I'm very excited about today's episode because we're going to all walk away inspired. My guest today grew up in Toronto and Ottawa, and she has settled her roots here in Ottawa with her young family. She's known as being an avid goal setter, life challenger, fitness enthusiast, mother, and wife. She has recently accomplished two of her goals, becoming a bodybuilder and playing the bass guitar before her 40th birthday. As a mom to two preteens and a baby, she has overcome many obstacles, including living with MS. Genevieve Daigle, welcome to Mentally Strong.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Super excited to have you here today after hearing your story. It's inspiring.
Aww.
And if you didn't have multiple sclerosis, I think it would be inspiring based on some of the stuff that you've accomplished so far. With the addition of that, it's mindset really does matter.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, sometimes I step back and I look at my life, and no, I do. I look into my life and I do appreciate everything, and I think that I've come a long way regardless of my situation. So thank you.
Absolutely. Let's start with your multiple sclerosis journey, and when did that start, and what does that look like, or what has that looked like for you?
Yeah, well, I was diagnosed in 2011, so I had just had my baby, and it was just before her first birthday, actually, and I decided to get back into the fitness world. Like any typical woman, we always want to go back to our pre-pregnancy bodies. And so I just figured, you know what, why not start trying to become more active? I knew what kind of lifestyle I wanted to live, having a young baby. So it actually happened during a workout. Literally, I was doing bear crawls and thought I got dirt in my eye, and went back home and thought, yeah, I had a great workout, but man, getting dirt in your eye really, really sucks. And that was on a Friday, and the weekend rolled in. My eye was still hurting. I was so fortunate to be able to go into a walk-in clinic, and the doctor there flat out said, you know what? I don't know what's wrong, but I am going to send you to a specialist that can tell you what could be wrong. So I was so lucky in that sense. Got into the eye clinic right away, and it's not even a long story. It just boom, boom, boom. Went to the eye clinic, got my eyes checked. I was told that my optic nerve was swollen, and then they shortly sent me to the MS clinic and did some more testing there. It's a typical diagnosis for a lot of young, healthy women who are in their childbearing ages, and just went from there. Definitely was caught off guard because, I'm trying to take care of myself, and the last thing that a young woman would expect is to be diagnosed with something that could deteriorate your health over time, right? So you're trying to take care of your health. At the same time, you're being told your health is going to deteriorate. So I was definitely shocked. My husband wasn't more shocked than I was. You're being thrown a lot of different things when you're getting diagnosed with something. So let alone me just having a baby. They throw a lot of stuff at you when you first have a baby, and you're lots of hormonal changes, becoming a new mother, a parent, your world kind of gets thrown upside down. But knowing the type of person that I am, and if you know the people that surround me, they know that adversity can get thrown at me, and I just take it with, I don't want to say like a grain of salt, but I cry a couple of tears and then I move on and say, okay, well, this is my life. Let's see how best I can make it. Right. And so that's been my journey ever since, is just, rolling with the punches and taking every day by day. And yeah, so that's been almost 13 years now when I think about it. I don't, I try not to let it affect me too much. Yeah, 13 years.
So it's a long time ago. I'm wondering if you think back on it, if having the baby may have helped you get through it in terms of, I have to be okay for the baby.
Yes, I think so, because looking back, I did this a couple of years ago where I looked back at my lifestyle and how I missed some of the signs. How I look back and I was thinking of certain parts of my life that I thought, okay, wait a minute, maybe that was like a trigger right there, leading up to that actual diagnosis. Yeah, that's so true. Sometimes you're thrown some heavy stuff in your life, and you have to be strong, right? Especially having a girl as your first child. I just wanted to be super, super strong for her. There are not many females in my family, so I'm one of less than a handful. So knowing that my firstborn was a girl, I just wanted to be super, super strong for her, and I just wanted to show her the way. Even though things are thrown at you in life, you can still be a strong person, a strong woman.
Absolutely. When you had your second child, was there any complications due to multiple sclerosis, or did it affect you in any way?
Luckily, from my first to my second, they're 2.5 years apart. And my first pregnancy was great. There was no issues. I loved being pregnant. Second time around, though, I don't know if it's a boy thing because I have two boys. um, that was definitely a challenging pregnancy. Recovery from that was even more challenging. And so I try not to equate my diagnosis, my condition, to everything that gets thrown at my life that gets thrown my way. I just try to decipher it, and sometimes I just say, you know what? Today I'm just tired. Like, it's just because I'm a parent, or I didn't sleep well, or I don't like associating everything to my condition. How I see my life is that, everybody gets dealt a deck of cards. And so this is my deck of cards. And it's just a matter of like how well I'm going to play my hand. So going back to, my second pregnancy recovery, I don't, looking back, I don't know if my condition had affected it much, but you can ask any woman, any parent, even, a dad having a toddler and a newborn. It's definitely, you go from 1 to 2 and you realize like, okay, I can't just like, you have to tag team all the time. There's no more like everybody has to be in the ring at the same time because you have two, right? Like you're not, there's an even amount of kids versus parents. So that being said, yeah, it was definitely like my body took a long time to recover, and maybe some of it was due to my condition, but for sure, just recovery from the birth itself was tough. So, and then there's a gap. There's a huge gap between my last one to this one. I have an almost 8-month-old right now. And it's definitely, I'm a new mom. I'm a new mom. It's like starting fresh all over again. And I find that this time around, my MS has affected me significantly more than my last two kids. I'm also older, so not to say that I'm old, but it definitely affects you. I was very fortunate. My whole healthcare team never considered me as being, quote unquote, a geriatric pregnancy. They just looked at me like, you know what, you're fit before pregnancy. If you can continue just staying fit, you're good to go.
You said it affected you during the last pregnancy. Were you show were you showing symptoms or flare ups before you got pregnant, or was
Yes, yes, yes. So just before, I would say 5 years after having my first son, I was presenting with like tingling and a numbing sensation in my hands. Nothing major, just a little of an annoyance. And then from there, it just kind of progressed. Now, to the outside world, you can't tell a difference, right? I'm one of those very fortunate ones that my MS doesn't present itself physically in the sense where people can actually see what's going on. But I know when I get tired, I tend to slow down a little or I have a drop foot. And so that's the thing, like with my hands, they've just been progressively getting more numb, more tingly. So it's for me, how I describe it is more like it's like having a burn on your hand and recovering from that. And so it's just been an ongoing annoyance for, yeah, the last 5, 6 years. It was ongoing throughout my pregnancy. So the challenge with that, not just because it's annoying, but picking up little things or just not having the amount of strength that I typically have in my hands. My hands get tired a lot faster. The small little pleasures I take in like sewing or when I first picked up playing the bass guitar, it's a lot more challenging than it would be for just the average person that doesn't have the sensation in their hands. So that's definitely how it's affected me.
I'm doing math in my head for how old the kids are. Have they noticed?
No. So, when you first go to the clinic and they give you all the information, how to talk to your family, your loved ones. If you have a young family, how do you approach them? How do you address things appropriately, age appropriate discussions? And so I just try to be straightforward with my kids. Myself and my husband were the same age, so we're 4 months apart. So I get to see him go through things first and see how he kind of like copes and adapts. And I don't think I'm gonna have the same reaction, but like I said, I've I've felt a shift in my life, and I'm coming to realize how I really have to plan for the future and plan for the worst case scenario, a plan for like a meteor case scenario, and how to prepare everybody in my life for those things, just so that it doesn't feel like a huge wrecking ball coming at them.
How do you
Pretty
feel?
much.
Yeah, how do you feel about it when you're thinking about it? Because what you're saying really resonates with me in terms
It
of what I've been thinking
definitely,
about the last
mm,
4 months. So
yeah, it's definitely, like I said, there's been a shift in my life. And it's a lot of, I wouldn't say soul searching, but it's definitely a lot of internalizing a lot of things, just not just as a mother, a wife, um, just as an individual. People need to realize you're with you 24/7, you know? People don't understand. Like, you are your voice in your head. You're your voice of reason. You're your voice of like insanity, of everything, right? And so when I had when I started thinking about those things, like, okay, how am I going to make this situation better for myself? Because I'm with me all the time, right? I'm in charge of me. I'm in charge of what I do as much as other people's reactions, words, everything may affect me. Still, at the end of the day, I'm in charge of me. And how can I make my life better because I'm with me all the time? All the time. It's definitely easier said than done, but that's what I think of. I think of how can I make things better for myself? Even just taking a moment to sit and be present. That's hard. That is the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my life is sit and be present and feel everything. Not just feel it like after, but feel it in the moment. It is hard. It's really hard. So that's what I've been doing for the past like definitely 6 months and a little more, but just nearing my birthday, it's a lot of internal thinking, processing.
What does that look like for you? Is that meditation? Is it going for a walk? Is it just sitting still?
I definitely love walks. I wish I could do more of them. Um, there are several things that's stopping or that's delaying me. I don't want to say stop me because I try and find a way around it regardless. But having a newborn, you think that it's like super easy to just not throw the baby in the carrier, but you know, get the baby in the stroller and then just go for a stroll. And especially with the weather that we've been having lately, you don't realize how challenging it can be. With the tornado warning that we had recently, with the rain, then the forest fires. So it like those type of things just affect your everyday life, and you don't think so. But for me, when I think of these things, I journal a lot. I journal a lot. I try to journal as much as I can. Walking is definitely a big thing. And just having like little moments to myself. It's so hard to just remove myself from the family unit. But that's what it looks like for me is walking, journaling. I've done meditation in the past. It's lovely. I think that I could probably get back into it. I'd love to get back into yoga as well. It's finding those things that you used to enjoy and trying to find those aha moments that you did enjoy to get back to that. It's getting started is the hardest part, but once you're in it, it's like, yes, I remember this. So when you're bringing that up, like, how do I find those things? I'm having that moment right now. Like, yes, I remember meditating and I did enjoy it. And I remember, doing yoga and I really enjoyed it. And so right now for me, it's definitely journaling, walking, and taking a moment just being by myself. But yeah, I'd like to pick up more on those other things that I've enjoyed in the past and just to connect more with myself.
You have 3 children, a husband. I think it's pretty understandable that you're not carrying all the balls that you want to carry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's another conversation in itself. Like that's for another.
There's been
Being
about
a mother.
three episodes I could have taken out of what you said so far that would be very easy to go into. Very easy. I was like, no, we can't touch that today or we'll be here all day. Did you journal before, or is this something that you just started or been off and
I've
on?
always journaled. When I was younger, I've been very fortunate that I've been on trips. My mom used to take us on trips. And I remember as we got older, we were taken out of school at like outside of the school breaks. And so during that time, my mom would give us like sort of like homework, I guess you could say, or some sort of maybe it was an agreement with the teachers, but we used to, we'd have to journal what we did during the day. And oh, I hated it. Like, what 10-year-old wants to write, you know? Even though we were outside, we were exploring and doing tons of stuff. At the end of the day, like, who wants to write about that stuff? But I got into, like, we didn't have a choice. I got into the hang of it. And then I thought, and I traveled a lot more when I was in high school. That was my thing, was traveling. And I thought, this is such a great idea because I get to reminisce what I wrote about and like what I experienced. And so that's how my journaling journey came to be. So that's where I caught the bug. Ever since then, I would say in the last 10 years, I think I've picked it up a lot more. You know, I wasn't really heavy with it when I was younger, but definitely now I would say it's more like of a daily or weekly thing versus before it was just go on trips and write what you did. And I think that's another thing with MS is that how it affects you, not just physically, but mentally. There are things that I do remember and things that I just don't. I like the idea of being able to write about it and reminisce about it, reread everything that I've written, and just finding joy in that. So
It's really nice to hear how you're speaking about your experience. And I say that in terms of someone else who has multiple sclerosis. And just a lot of what you're saying is resonating with me because I go through similar things to different levels. And I guess misery loves company, or it's or someone else there is going through the same process as I am. The reason that I wanted to do this podcast is because sometimes when you're by yourself going through it, regardless of who else is around you, if they're not going through the exact same thing you are,
yes,
you can feel alone. And one of the ones that it's now stuck in my head because you said it is not trying to attach the condition to everything that's happening to you. Like, maybe I just had a bad sleep.
That's right. That's right. And it's true. Like, I appreciate that nobody can understand you better than someone else that can relate to that. Other people can relate to having a bad sleep, but it's like sometimes it's exacerbated by, one or the other. It's a
Absolutely.
toss of a coin. Like, not going off topic, but like I just went go-karting for my brother's birthday and I had to tap out. I was like, I can't do more than 35 minutes max. And I was literally, it looked like somebody like threw the go-kart at me when I got out of the go-kart. And people were like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, MS right here. Like, is my condition is just it hit it hit me hard, and I definitely just need to take a break." And luckily, my stepmom was there, and she totally understood. But I tried to explain that to some of my friends, and it was just like, "Oh, okay." And it's like, you just don't get it. Like, I don't want you to feel sorry for me, but it's just one of those experiences that you can't appreciate. And I think, I'm sure, Colin, that you understand and appreciate like what I'm talking about, that sometimes you're doing an activity and you're so gung-ho into it, and then you stop and you're like, "Ooh, I am definitely winded in some sort of way that I was not expecting, and I need to take a hot minute to just sit and take a breather, either mentally or physically." And I'm sure you understand and appreciate that.
100%.
Yeah, it's
And it, for me, looking or seeking control,
hmm.
and then so if it's a workout and the workout is extra hard, not because the workout's extra hard, but because I'm not feeling right, whether it's heat or vertigo or what have you, then I go through the day before. It's like, what did I do? It's like, okay, I did this. I didn't drink. I ate healthy. I did everything right, but I'm still
Yeah,
getting this. And sometimes it's hard to accept.
yeah,
And
yeah.
to this conversation, it's like, who do I call to talk to about this? Because unless you've experienced it,
Yeah, and it's
it's
just
hard,
to
right?
vent or just to like you don't want to feel like you're going crazy, right? Like you just have to verbally get it out and say, like, I know I just experienced this. I'm not going crazy. This is not going out of my mind.
Right.
This is something that I've experienced, and you need to share that with somebody who has those same type of experiences. And
It
they can,
sounds we have a similar attitude too, that we don't want that to be the default.
yes.
Like, it's
Hmm.
okay if we're tired because we didn't sleep last night, or maybe this is just a really crappy workout.
Yeah,
Because that happens
exactly.
too.
Yeah, yeah. And just to be validated and to
Yeah.
say, you know what? It's okay. It's okay to have a crappy day. It's okay, whether it's, you had a bad sleep or it is the MS for whatever reason wants to kick in today, that it's okay. I see you. I hear you, you know, and that's that. It's just being seen, I think,
Agreed. And I think that's
goes a
across the
long
board.
way.
That's not just people with a chronic condition. That's in
Yes.
general. It's okay to have
Hmm.
a bad day.
Yes. Yes.
If you're on day 28 of having 28 bad days, you might
Yeah.
want to take some action. But as far as
Yes.
it's okay to have a bad day, as a mom, as a dad,
Yeah.
worker, whatever, it's totally okay.
Yes. Yes. For sure. For sure.
I'm scared to ask this question, but I'm going to because I think it needs to be talked about. What's your experience been with the healthcare system in terms of you dealing with your multiple sclerosis?
It's been so so. I have to say, in the last month, had you asked me this question like, I don't know, like 2 months ago or something, I would have been like, well, nah, I tried to advocate for myself. And it's hard because not only do I have to advocate for myself, but I have to advocate for three other, human beings that are not of legal age. So it puts a lot of pressure on me, and I have, adulting is hard. um, but that being said, I would say in the last month, I've been very fortunate, and I hope that the outcome is what I'm looking for. And I've put it out there. I put out the energy out there, and I told myself that I can find these specialists to help me. I plan on seeing, and I knew that these specialists are out there, just I couldn't find them. Um, I'm going to see, I have an appointment with a neuro physio in the next couple of weeks. And I knew that there were these type of professions. I just didn't know if they were available to us, especially locally. Healthcare, as much as it's there to support you, it's all based off of research. And we're all grouped into this pool. And the health, they basically say, a healthcare practitioner will just say, well, the majority of people that have this condition or that suffer from this benefit more on X, Y, and Z. And it's like, okay, great, but I'm still an individual person. Nature versus nurture. I do not have the same background, the same upbringing. There's so many different variables that I want to be seen as an individual. So you can throw at me like, okay, well, the majority of people that have the same symptoms as you, or the same anything as you, will go in this direction. I will look at it, I will think it over, and then I'll get back to them and say, okay, this is what I want to do. And I think that those that are listening, that have had this condition or any chronic condition or any health issue that they've had consistently, or that has showed up in their life so often, that they can recognize the issues that it causes them, to say, look, like me as an individual, this route is just not going to work for me. Right? I remember when I was first diagnosed, and then they told me that I had to go on medication, and they gave me all these pamphlets. And luckily, I was going on vacation the next couple of weeks with my husband, and we brought the pamphlets with us. We told ourselves, okay, let's have a good time for the first part of our trip. And then the second part, we need to take at least one part of the day to sit down and talk about my options, because this is real. This is real. And, we had to go back and forth, and we ended up choosing the right path that worked for me. Right? That being said, like, just how I trust healthcare, it's like but I say it's 50-50. I say right now, it's going in the direction I want it to go for me. But it's been a long journey. It's been a long journey having to advocate for myself and knowing what works and what doesn't work for me. And I think that's what everybody that's going through a chronic illness, that's what they need to do. I think that they need to really sit down with themselves and say, like, I'm an individual. I need to advocate for myself. The thing with healthcare is that, and I've worked in healthcare, and they push it. They make it sound like if you don't do what we tell you to do, you're going to die. Or they make you feel, it's true, they make you feel like this is detrimental if you decide not to go the path that we say is the safest for you. And I think that people, you shouldn't feel intimidated. Don't get me wrong. Like, I feel intimidated from time to time when it comes to that, when I'm being approached with that information. But at the end of the day, I have to tell myself that, you know what, let me think about it. I'll get back to you and come up with my answer as to how I want to approach this, whether it's holistically, whether it's whatever direction that I feel is best for me and my family. So I hope that kind of like sums up everything, how I feel, and I'm hoping that my meeting with this neurophysio is going to go great. I've put it out there right now that it is. I'm seeing other specialists right now, other specialists, physio specialists in their own respective parts of physio that they're helping me out as well. But I feel like it's my time to really sit with myself and really take care of every part of me, right? Not just, well, what meds am I going to pop into my mouth today, or I'm going to inject myself with today to slow down the MS. It's not just that. It's like, how has it affected me globally? Like my strength, physically, mentally, psychologically, how is that being affected, right? I've gone to therapy before, personal therapy, just to deal with my own stuff. And that's something that I'll probably revisit as well. You have to find the right healthcare specialists that you gel with well. And that takes time. It takes time.
Advocating for yourself. What I like about that is we have actually a little bit different views on it, but it's still advocating for yourself. Because when I was being encouraged to start medication, I wasn't being told. This is what I think you should do. I had a different view of like, just tell me what I need to do to be better and I'll do it. Right. So
Yeah,
it's
no, I totally
different
get
for
that.
everybody. And
Mm-hmm.
you did, the words you used were advocate for yourself. So I'm
Yes.
saying this because that it's about you. It's what works for you. For me, it was give me the direction, I'll do it. For you, it's give me choices, let me go on vacation and research it, and I'll come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the holistic part of it, from my understanding of this condition, everything plays into it: stress, nutrition, exercise, mental health.
Yes.
I can probably keep going. It all plays into how you feel and how you're triggered, or I can't think of a better
Mm-hmm.
word, but does that make sense?
Oh yeah, for sure. And like you said, I mean, everybody is an individual. We're all very different, but it does come back to advocating. And even there are times in my life where I'm just like, just give me the red pill. Like, just tell me what I need to do. Is it the red pill or the blue pill? I can't remember, but and I get it. And I think, after that, you realize you're able to make sound decisions after that as well. Like, okay, this worked for me, great. Or no, this didn't work for me. What are my other options? It's still, like you said, it's still advocating for yourself. So you're taking control, you're taking power and saying, this is what I want for me. How are you going to help me
Hmm.
achieve or get to where I want to be? Now, it's either you're a decision maker yourself, or you would rather depend on somebody else to make some decisions for you. It's still, at the end of the day, being true to yourself. That's what it is, being true to yourself and advocating for yourself. That's the most important thing.
Actually, I wonder, as I'm speaking to tie it together, I
Mm-hmm.
wonder if I had had a friend with me when I was getting that news, if it would have been easier, because I was trying to take in the news and make a decision,
Yes.
which
Yes.
pretty safe to say I wasn't in my best state of mind at that present moment as
Mm-hmm.
emotions are flooding up. So let's tie it back to significant other, friend, parent, whoever it is, being there and supporting you as you're taking in the news and going through it. I think would be
Yes.
helpful for anyone.
Yes, and it's definitely, and just because I have a life partner doesn't always mean that he's going to be the one to be there for everything,
Right.
right? Having a confidant or anybody that is there, is your cheerleader 100%, who is there to back you up and go with, when I say like cheerleader, not to say that they shouldn't throw in their own opinions, right? You don't want somebody who's like, yes, yes, just go with that. Like, I'm here for you 100. No, you need somebody who's going to be, straightforward with you, right? For good, for bad. It doesn't have to be your life partner, but like anybody that that knows you well and that can be there for you, you know? Even it's like with my last birth, I was like, you know what, at this point, I could care less if my husband was there as long as I have like a good midwifery team. Because, like, one of the midwives, I swear, I never had this experience with my last two, and she touched some trigger points on my body. I was like, where were you? Why weren't you there for my last two births? Like, I'm never giving birth again, but you are like a godsend, or somebody sent you to me, and you just do the job, and my husband can catch the baby, or like he can do skin to skin after, but I need you to be there with me. So I love how is tying everything back with having somebody that is there, that gets you, that understands you, and is there in your corner 100%. And I remember she even like tried to encourage me she's like, you want this to go faster? We can do this. And I was like, I'm good, but we were on the same page. We were speaking the same language. We were feeling the same vibes, and it was a great experience. But it just goes back to anything that goes on in life, you got to find those people that are there to support you and that get you, that know who you are as an individual, and that they're there to support you and can be your reasoning at the end of the day. So like I would have brought anyone else with me to my appointment, and his way of thinking is very different from mine. I'm very like hot-headed a lot of the times, and he's very like doesn't show a lot of emotions. He's a logical thinker most of the time. Um, it gels really, really well together, and we're able to come together at the same table, and we're able to talk about those things. Okay, well, logically, does this make sense? And emotionally, does this make sense? And, it just goes together beautifully.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
It is. You're saying it, and I'm like, I picture a teeter-totter with logic on one side, emotion on the other side, and it balancing out, right? It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to pretend we're out of time so that it's within our control instead of a baby's control.
Mm-hmm.
Genevieve has been kind enough to say she'll come back on, because we didn't get anywhere close to where we were going to go today.
I like to talk.
What y'all don't know, her fitness is a big passion.
Yes.
I want to learn more about the story of the bass guitar. And I believe it was 3 years ago you competed in bodybuilding.
Yeah, it was during COVID.
So we're going to talk about that next time. We're going to hear that story, how a mom of 2 at the time with multiple sclerosis goes from being fit to a bodybuilder in a fairly short period of time, which we're not going to give away today. We'll save that for later.
Yeah.
But your story is incredible. You're incredibly well-spoken.
Thank you.
And I am super excited to hear the story I thought I might have heard today. Later.
Oh, well, I look forward to sharing it. My stories are great. I love my stories. And I can't wait to share it.
Awesome.